Let's talk about this NC State basketball team here as we are less than 50 days from the start of the college basketball season. And I think it's going to be a fun one for the Wolfpack. Listen, last year wasn't ideal after the big Final Four run, but I think with Coach Will Wade in helm here, a lot of new faces on this roster, mostly all new faces. I think there's a lot of positivity surrounding this program. So we're gonna break down the schedule, give you guys my predictions for this season, and at the back end of this video, I'll give you what I think the rotation is gonna look like, which is pretty difficult for me to figure out because, like I said, almost all entirely new faces. Please like this video. Let's jump right into it. So the schedule. First, we're going to go through the non-conference portion, and then we'll get into the conference portion of these games. I'm not going to hit on every non-conference game, but we'll touch on some of the bigger matchups. I've got them going 10-3 in non-conference play. We'll get that out of the way early. I think they're going to win this early game against VCU at home. Then they've got the Maui Invitational. I think they'll go 2-1 out here. I think they'll win the first game against Seton Hall, and then they'll split the remaining two games in Maui. The SEC ACC Challenge is a difficult one for this Wolfpack team, although it's not the same Auburn as last year. I mean, that Auburn team, they've got JUCO transfers, D2 transfers, transfers from all around the country. Only got one player returning in Pettiford. Similar situation as NC State. I just think at Auburn, tough place to play. I think it would be a heck of a win if NC State gets it done, but I'm not going to be picking them in this one. Then you have Kansas also coming to Raleigh. I think that's going to be a really good game. I think this Kansas team, look, last year was a rough season for Kansas. I think they're going to be better than last year. They've got certainly one of the better players in the country in Darren Peterson, but playing at NC State is going to be tough. I do think NC State, though, I think Kansas gets this one done. But this is a coin flip matchup. I'm going to side with Kansas in this one, which will be the third loss in non-conference play. And then I've got Ole Miss. I've got NC State beating Ole Miss in Greensboro. Not quite a home game, but, it's still in North Carolina. I think they get that one done. I've got them going. Let's see. So conference play, we don't have the exact schedule, but I'll give you guys what the opponents will be. So they've got Virginia and Wake Forest in home and away contests this year. I don't think Wake Forest is going to be quite as good as it has been in years past, but I do think Virginia is going to be pretty good this year. I've got them splitting these games going 2-2, although if I were to lean one way or the other, it would be closer to 3-1 than 2-2. Then at home, they've got Duke, Georgia Tech, Miami, North Carolina, Stanford, Syracuse, Virginia Tech. So with those 7 games, I think I got them going 5-2. I think they'll drop the games to Duke and North. I don't know. I think they'll probably beat Duke, but they'll probably lose to North Carolina and either Georgia Tech or Syracuse would be my guess. Bring them to 5-2. Then their road games: Boston College, Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, Notre Dame, Pittsburgh, and SMU. We've got some tough road ones. Clemson, I don't think is going to be quite as good as in years past. But certainly, I think Florida State could be better than last year. Louisville's going to be very good. Notre Dame will be better. I think SMU will be slightly better as well. I've got them going 3-4 on the road, which brings their conference total to 10-8 and 20-11, which I think is going to put them right on the fringe of the bubble for this year's NCAA tournament. I think the ACC will be better, and that's why they'll be on the bubble for the ACC tournament. So we'll see. I think I had them 20-11. I think I was closer to pushing them to 21-10 or maybe even 20-9 than the other way. I think this is going to be a really talented team. They don't have a ton of depth, and let's jump right into that. I don't see them having a ton of depth right now in the front court, so an injury to Darian Williams or Van Allen Lubin would be really detrimental. but they do have a lot of depth in the backcourt. And that is really reflected in my rotation, which typically I would kind of go through this one by one, but I have failed. I've failed in my editing here. Please subscribe to the channel if you like these videos. It really means a lot. So we're just going to break it down all at once. So the depth in the front court, we'll start there and then we'll go to the back court. We'll go kind of backwards here. So Darian Williams and Van Allen Lubin are the two guys I project to play the most minutes as of right now. And that is because of the depth in these positions, as well as Darian Williams is certainly the best player on this team. You can make an argument Van Allen Lubin is the second best, although I wouldn't make such a strong one there, but you could certainly make the argument. And just based on the lack of depth in these positions, as well as the strength of Darian Williams, I think those two guys are going to play the most minutes at the 4 and 5 spots, respectively. Then I went with Trey Holloman over Kadir Copeland as the starting point guard. I've got him playing similar amounts of minutes here, 23 and 22. I figured Copeland might be better off coming off the bench. Maybe a little bit easier conversation with his relationship with Coach Wade. But they're similar guards. Holloman's a little bit better shooter. Copeland's a bit bigger. But neither one's a great outside shooter. So therefore, I don't think they're going to play a ton together. That's kind of why there's only 5 minutes of overlap between the two. I just don't think it's going to be ideal to have them out a ton at the same time, especially with the depth and the other options you have on, your 2 spot, your 2-3 spots, if you will. So we're going to start with the 2 guards, with Matt Abel and Paul McNeil. And Abel's a top 30 recruit, so I just think with that pedigree, you give him a shot to start. If it doesn't work out, you move him to the bench. But I think he gets the first shot at the 2-guard spot with Paul McNeil coming off the bench. Paul McNeil had some real flashes last year. He didn't get consistent playing time. Some of that due to his inconsistency. Some of that due to there's just a lot of kind of a mix match of players last year on NC State's roster. A little bit similar to this year in terms of just a lot of depth in the guard spots, but no one really sticking out. I think this year there's a little bit more clarity. A lot of hype right now, I think, with Paul McNeil. He was in the second round of the latest mock draft for Jonathan Wasserman of Bleacher Report. So 17 minutes a game right now is what I have him projected at. Could be a bit low, but I'm giving Matt Abel the first crack based off of his pedigree. And kind of similar thing could be said for Terrence Arsenault, who's a guy who, had pretty respectable production on a perennial title contender the last couple seasons at Houston. I think he comes in and has a starting spot right away. He can defend on the wings. You know that coming in from Houston. And I think there's untapped potential for him offensively. Then rounding out the rotation, I've got Jerry Dang, who I think can really shoot it as a big 6'9" forward coming in from Florida State. Zamika Wilkins, top 100 recruit. 6'8", maybe a little bit short, but 240, 250 makes up for it with his size. I think he's the backup center. And I have him projected to play 12 minutes a game, just soaking up those minutes when Lubin isn't out there. And then Allen Breed. It was tough for me to find minutes for Allen Breed, who only played in 2 games last year at McNeese. Played 3 years prior at Providence, if I remember correctly. Right around 20 minutes a game. Not super productive there. I think he's a guy who's in the rotation, but it was just the math. It was hard for me to work out more minutes for Breed than that, which means some other guys like Jamie Continiemi, Musa Sagnia, who they just signed as a 6'8" forward, and then Colt Langdon and Scotty Abube as guys out of the rotation for me as I see it as of right now. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Until next time, peace.